My story is about a woman named Brenda. Brenda is a part owner of a Subway sandwich shop at Lake Anna, Virginia. Any of you been to Lake Anna, Virginia? Any fans? Yeah? I have literally spent my entire life water skiing at Lake Anna, by no exaggeration. And if you've ever been there during summer, it's a pretty happening place. This story takes place in December 7th, in fact, Pearl Harbor Day. If you've ever been to Lake Anna in the winter, it's a pretty quiet place. It's rural, it's quiet. And it was a Monday, probably Monday afternoon, about 1 o'clock. It was a gray Monday. Brenda was probably managing a very modest lunch rush. And in walks a heavyset gentleman, looked to be elderly. And he instantly caught her attention. There was just something about this gentleman. He had gray hair, blue eyes, smile on his face, and just a certain presence about him. You know, the kind of guy that when he walks into a room, it's impossible to ignore, he's impossible to ignore. And when he leaves the room, he's difficult to forget. And he walks right up to the counter and asks Brenda, and literally he walked up, "Hey, Brenda," apparently reading her name tag, and said, "I'd like to place an order." And Brenda politely says to him, "Sir, I'll have to invite you to get in line." And he said, "Oh, sorry about that." There was one person in line. And so he finally steps up and he orders a 6-inch BMT. I don't know if any of you have a favorite sandwich at Subway, right? And there's a certain smell at Subway, right? Apparently this was his favorite. And he starts making small talk with Brenda and, "So Brenda, are you one of the owners? And how long you been working?" And, just having a good time. And as she's making the sandwich, he's like, "Brenda, you think you could throw a little more meat on that sandwich? Maybe a little more mayonnaise?" A gentleman had walked in behind him as he was ordering, and as she was preparing his sandwich, the gentleman behind him ordered a 6-inch tuna sandwich. Apparently that sounded good to this gentleman because he said, "That sounds pretty good. I think I'll have one of those too, Brenda. Why don't you make up 2 of those?" Apparently this is something he did. So Brenda makes a couple sandwiches. They're having some small talk, and the gentleman pays for his sandwiches, and he goes and takes a seat in one of the booths and begins to have his lunch. Not 5 minutes passed, and this gentleman started calling out for help in one of those tones of voice that that there's something wrong. This person needs help. And Brenda, sort of sensing the situation, said, she sort of looked at him and could tell that the man was having a heart attack. And so she very quickly dialed 911. She talked to the operator and said, there's a gentleman in my restaurant having a heart attack. You need to send someone right away. And then she went around the counter and she sat with the gentleman to try to keep him, to try to just comfort him. And she could tell that he was really getting anxious. Tell him to hurry. My chest hurts. I don't feel good. There's a problem. Sensing the severity of the situation, she literally took his hands in hers and they said the Lord's Prayer together. And when they finished saying the Lord's Prayer, this gentleman literally took one last breath, looked Brenda right in the eyes, gave her a giant smile, and slumped over. And paramedics literally were in the restaurant within moments. They had been next door, ironically enough. And they went immediately to work on this gentleman, and they as the story is told, they gave CPR for 30 minutes to no avail. The gentleman had passed. Now this, at this moment, probably sounds like a sad story. And of course, death is a very difficult part of life. And isn't that an odd irony? This is not a sad story, folks. This is actually a story of a life well lived. That man was my father. And he lived life to the absolute fullest for 75 years. He was married for 50 years to my mom. He had 3 kids, 9 grandkids, 1 great-grandson he never met. He had a 32-year career with the Navy. In fact, he met my mom, his wife of 50 years. They had celebrated their 50-year anniversary earlier that year in Hawaii. And his oldest grandson, my oldest son, was on vacation the day his grandfather died. Can you guess where? Hawaii. Which makes the fact that he died on Pearl Harbor Day that much more unbelievable. I sincerely believe that that was God's way of sort of reminding us that I have a plan and I am in control. My dad had a 20-year retirement after his career with the Navy, doing exactly what he wanted to do, living at Lake Anna, spending winters in Florida. I spoke to Brenda for the first time the day after my dad died. I just wanted to talk to the woman who was there with him the moment he died. And it was interesting. I found out afterwards that she was terrified to speak with me because she thought that we were going to be upset with her that she didn't do more. And I said, quite the contrary. I just want you to know how much we appreciate the fact that you were there for my dad. And as she and I were talking, I said, I have to tell you this, Brenda. The thing that breaks my heart the most is the thought that my dad passed without any family or friends by his side. And the words, what she said in response to that, are words that I will never forget for the rest of my life. She said, Chris, for what it's worth, I knew your dad for 10 minutes, and I felt like he was a friend. Now, if it were 20 minutes, she might have changed her mind. But I thought, that was so my dad. It literally only took him 10 minutes to make a friend. And so I'm going to close my story by inviting you to consider a question that I've been asking myself for 5+ years, and that is this. If any one of us knew someone for 10 minutes and 10 minutes only, would they say the same thing about us? Would they say, I only knew him for 10 minutes, but he felt like he was a friend? Thank you.
You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place.